Thank you, ma'am, for clearly showing that we cannot just write off OADs in hospital setting. So now I invite our panelists for the panel discussion. We have Dr. Parjeet Kaur, Dr. Harmandeep Kaur, and Dr. Shafi Kuchay with us as panelists. So I would request the audience also to actively participate. Anyone who has the query can raise their hand. We will take the queries simultaneously. So I would start off with Dr. Shafi. Sir, you presented Indian evidence and particularly your data that second generation basal insulin are also safe in hospital setting. So, but considering their long half-lives and they take a longer time to achieve steady state, so how frequently dose titration should be done if we are using second generation basal insulin in inpatient setting?
Okay, when second generation this ultra long acting basal insulins came into market, one apprehension was that in hospitalized patients, because they have a long duration of action, they remain there for 48 more than 48 hours, so daily adjustment would not be better. It may be like stacking up insulin, and later on they may cause hypoglycemia. But all these randomized trials, there was daily adjustment of insulin. And in our study also, we did daily adjustment of insulin. That's a theoretical concern that practically actually doesn't exist. It is safe to adjust basal insulin, ultra long acting basal insulin daily, and it gives like smooth control. There is no stacking up insulin. There is no hypoglycemias after second or third day. So there it is safe, and it is the standard of care everywhere.
So clearly a myth is busted that second generation basal insulin we cannot do daily dose titration. So my next question is to Dr. Parjeet ma'am. Ma'am, according to you, how to manage steroid-induced hyperglycemia? Because in the COVID era, we have seen that many patients are on steroid, and steroid-induced hyperglycemia, how to effectively manage it?
Yes, I think it's a very relevant question which I did not cover in that talk. So we do see steroid-induced oncology patients, pulmonary medicine patient, and COVID-19. We had a huge experience. So when the patient is on steroid, and three things we need to know. First of all, what kind of steroid the patient is receiving. Secondly, what is the route, whether the patient is being given IV or oral steroid. And thirdly, what are the timing, how frequently the steroid is being given. So for example, one patient is being given just oral steroid, prednisolone in the morning time, versus a patient who is receiving IV methylprednisolone twice daily or thrice daily, which our COVID patients also received, or a dexamethasone twice, or a hydrocortisone. So if the patient is receiving just one single dose in the morning, so we can then somehow anticipate the blood glucose control, because the one shot in the morning of a steroid will mainly cause a rise in the evening blood glucose levels. So in these patients, what we do is we kind of give a extra evening dose, 4 p.m. dose of insulin, which will take care of the before dinner rise in the blood sugars. However, if the patient is round the clock insulin, we have to then give accordingly the step up the boluses as well as the basal. But whereas the patient is on just one daily dose of steroid being given in the morning, sometimes these patients will not even require basal much. With boluses will take care of the blood glucose control. So definitely we can still follow the same protocol, same chart, but these patients we need to keep in mind how the blood glucose is being affected.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your valuable experience. Now I move to Dr. Harmandeep, ma'am. Ma'am, you showed that metformin can be safely used till the night before surgery. So what about the usage of other OADs in a perioperative period in a patient who is admitted for surgery?
Perioperative. So generally, the protocol which we follow is that if patients they are uncontrolled, definitely they are sent in for clearance first. So if patients they have uncontrolled blood sugars, we will have to see what we can do. It may be some escalation in dose of OHAs, or if the sugars are very high, we may like to start on insulin and control the blood sugars and then go ahead with the surgery. So people who are well controlled on OADs actually, so generally after we had our own study and we have data to support us, so generally we continue with OADs till the night before surgery, and after surgery it depends like what kind of surgery patient has undergone, but mostly it is that we start with basal bolus therapy. So that is the protocol actually. So then at the time of discharge, we can think of like whether we want, if patient is stable, everything is fine, he's eating, wound is fine, then we can restart with OADs depending upon the pre-admission status actually. So if glycemic control was already good, we can restart his previous regime only. And if there is some concern, if we want to modify, then accordingly we do at the time of discharge. So that is how we do.
Thank you, ma'am. So now I move to Dr. Shafi, sir. Sir, if a patient is already on first generation basal insulin, and if we decide to start him on second generation basal insulin during inpatient setting, so what dose adjustments are to be made?
Yeah, usually all basal insulins unit wise, there is no much difference. You can, if you want to switch over to second generation, you can go directly to the same dose. Dosage wise, there is no change. Then you can follow and you can measure glucose and then you make adjustments. But there is usually no, dose adjustments if you switch from one basal to another basal.
So we
But,
can.
but if you are giving NPH, if you are giving NPH 2 doses, there you have to make adjustments because you are giving long acting as a 1 dose. There, otherwise for glargine to this degludac 100 or glargine 300, there is no dose adjustment. You can give directly same dose.
Okay, sir. So, Dr. Parjeet, ma'am, you clearly showed that basal bolus regime is the cornerstone of glycemia management in non-critical setting. So, what do you think about the correctional or supplemental doses of insulin? What is their utility?
Yes, I think it's very important when you're deciding the dosages that you also decide the correction dose, as I had shown in that case, because correction is important. Many times patients have variable food intake. So one time the patient is eating less and you had written a certain dose anticipating, okay, this much blood sugar will come. But however, the patient has eaten less, the blood sugar might fall to just 70, 80. That is the point of time actually it's not that you completely do not give insulin or you give the same dose. There the role of correction is that okay, you minus the certain amount from the pre-decided dose and give that. Similarly, if the patient has got a very high blood sugar, maybe because in between some steroid was given, or if the patient appetite has suddenly improved, so you give that correction, add a certain on the pre-decided dose so that the next value you get is a better value. So there's a huge role of a correction dose which should be there in the protocol along with the pre-decided boluses.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is to Dr. Harmandeep, ma'am. Ma'am, is there any utility of adding OADs to a patient who is already on multiple daily injections of insulin in inpatient setting?
In inpatient setting, that actually if we ask about the data, so there are some studies to show definitely like in type 2 diabetes we continue with metformin. At least that was like from olden days we are doing that metformin is continued because that reduces resistance. So in inpatient setting, actually if glycemic control is good with your basal bolus therapy, generally they don't require OADs, but we do see cases where glycemic control is very difficult. Actually, they are the persons who are very resistant. And if you think patient is stable, hemodynamically stable, or no organ dysfunction as such, in such a case, we do see utility of metformin. Like after some time, you can start with metformin. And secondly, there are data to show that sometimes DPP-4 inhibitors also give a good control actually in people where there is a lot of variability or maybe more of prandial spike. So even DPP-4 inhibitors, they do help actually in better glycemic control. But definitely we are using it where we become little helpless. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, ma'am. The last question is to Dr. Shafi, sir. So one important advantage with second generation basal insulin is the flexibility in timing of administration. So how do you see it as an advantage in inpatient setting?
Yeah, this is very important because for NPH there is no advantage. You can't give, NPH if you can't change the timing much. For second generation long acting, for example, for degludec U100 or glargine U300, if because in ward your patient may go for ultrasound and he needs fasting for few hours and your dose is scheduled, for example, in the morning 10 a.m. And you can miss insulin at that time. You can give same dose of insulin if he comes, to the ward at 1 p.m. So you can give that basal at that time. There is no change. You can give it any time of the day. It doesn't change the glycemia pattern. But this flexibility is not with NPH or detimir or for glargine U100. Their timing, if you change timing, if the change is significant, it will alter your glycemia pattern. So there is this advantage with these long-acting second generation basal insulins.
So definitely it is an important point. So if there are no further queries from the audience, there is one query. Yes, sir.
It has been my experience that post-op and patients on their second or third day tend to have much lower glucose values as when they would normally be taking whatever medications they were. And this tendency, for some strange reason, seems to continue for about a week or so after discharge also. Have you also had the same experience?
Yeah, I think it all depends upon the diet. And that's how we tell patient also, okay, look at your diet, how well controlled the blood sugar is. So I think it depends upon their appetite and how it's gone down. And initial few days, 1 day post-op, they're on liquid diet as well. Gradually their appetite is gained. I think that's the...
Yeah, so we have seen this in hospitalized patients because the diet becomes, fixed, and particularly in our hospital where outside food is not allowed, we see sometimes patients, on same regimen, they get good control. Then when we ask them why your glucose is now controlled, they say, "Yahan to kuch dete hi nahi hai khane ke liye." So maybe this is the reason.
And it also depends upon the kind of the disease they were having before. So suppose if you have a patient with the kidney disease, or if your patient is already lean and thin, so it varies. So the individualization of the therapy has to be done, and we have to keep the thing keep open. Adding the oral anti-diabetic drug and a new therapy, we should be the case based, I think.
Yeah.
Dr. Shafi, just a quick question. Yeah. Coming to the question of conversion from the first generation to the second generation, we don't have much experience with the detimir.
Yeah, we don't do it usually.
But if I recall, detimir at low dose, 0.3 units per kg, it acts as an intermediate acting. If we use a higher
definitely.
dose, it acts as a single dose. So how do we change from the detimir to second generation?
We usually do not change the dose. Yeah, this is a fact. This is also seen sometimes with glargine U100, because if you give less dose, less than 20 units, it doesn't act, for 24 hours. Sometimes it act for 18 hours. The duration is for 18 hours. But I don't know if there is difference. I have changed in a few cases, I remember, from detimir to this glargine U300, but I didn't make any change in the dose. I don't know there is any converge. In fact,
Yeah, no, Even I have not. I think better to give on the, if the patient is in the hospital, lower dose, and then you can step up gradually depending upon the sugars.
So if there are no further queries, I thank all the panelists for their valuable input.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.